You guys are the final few who have finally hung on to the very end. So, welcome. So, ladies and gentlemen, tech enthusiasts and innovators alike, a resource. Good morning to each and every one of you as we kick off the grand finale of the Internet 2.0 conference. Can you believe it? We've journeyed through 2 incredible days of cutting edge insights and groundbreaking discussions, and here we are ready to embark on our final stretch of the technological enlightenment. If you thought yesterday was mind blowing, just wait until you see what we have in store for today. But before we dive deep into the end of today's topics, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our gold sponsor, BAAV Industries. Now let's get down to business, shall we? Don't forget that to use our internet hashtag of hashtag internet2conf and share your thoughts with the event with the world. And our first panel discussion of the day promises to be nothing short of captivating. We'll be delving into the intriguing world of the ethics of deep fakes, balancing innovation and responsibility. It's a topic that's been making waves across the tech landscape, and today we have the privilege of exploring it with some of the brightest minds in the industry. So without further ado, let's give it a warm round of applause to our esteemed mediator, JP, the MBA, Boston University, and our distinguished panelists. Give it up for them.
It's the last day, but we are makes you like we are uh, we make it interesting because this is one of the interesting topic in this case of Gen AI. So, we are the super extinguished panelists here. Like they will be sharing their thoughts as well as to understand some of your insight. That's how we can make it more interesting, super fun. That's pretty fun. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this panel discussion on deepfakes. So, how this deepfakes is impacting our actual competence? What lessons we can take going forward? People that I would like to we have
Hey, my name is Chris. So I'm third. Just getting it.
To look forward to the future with technology and AI and everything that's going forward. It's going to be nothing but a huge benefit.
great. And next is our Neem.
I am Nirm Banerjee. I'm the founder and CEO of Wildy. And the deepfake and the responsibility is something very close to our heart at this time because we are seeing AI taking part in every aspect of life, and we are regularly interacting with the AI. So it's our responsibility to understand where it should fit and where it should not. So yeah, that's where to start with.
Great, thank you, Neem. So then our another rock star, Osama.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to be here with my panelists. My name is Osama Saba. I am the president and founder of Bedrock Technology. Bedrock Technology is a supplier enablement solution that simplifies the journey of your supplier onboarding, verification, audit, and payment.
Wonderful. Now we know our panelists. So let's start the topic, what we are talking about. How many of you have seen some kind of a manipulated video of Donald Trump? Great. And how many of you have seen Elon Musk is firing his employee through a Zoom call? Great. These all are nothing but what we are going to discuss today, and what is the concern of those things and how it has impacted our social norms as well as the digital norms. Before starting this, what is deepfake? Deepfake is something which is it is a synthetic media. These all are like a audio, visual, or kind of a video things. So how they are making it, because they will try to copy some of those images and those figure and how they speak. They will try to synthesize those voice and those video through the original. So, and they will make it as a training set. They will convert it through the deep learning algorithm. They will copy it. So that's how the algorithm will be copying as how they are making in a real world. So that's kind of a fake. Through a deep learning algorithm, we are making it a deep fake. So like we are making something, faking something deeply. That's how deep fake. So before kickstarting this topic, I would like to ask, first thing I would like to ask from the technology point of view, so how it is impacting our technological concern, as well as before innovating something, by leveraging the deepfakes technology, we are making something for the right intention, right, something doing for the good for the business. So first let's understand from Osama, who will be speaking about how it is leveraging through the technology and innovation.
Thank you. That's a great question. Um, so when I get asked to figure out innovation and responsibility at the same time, it's like the opposite thing, right? Whenever you want to innovate, you want the shackles off and you want to just go as far as you can. So whenever you think about responsibility, it's really important to think about it whenever it comes in the matter of AI. AI technologically, obviously, is changing the world and will continue to change the world and define it as we move forward. So this is where the responsibility piece comes in. And so to answer your question, I think it's a diverse approach that we have to encompass in order to make sure that we're going to innovate and also be responsible, where we have to tackle the technological, ethical, legal, and educational strategies at the same time. And so to start talking, we'll start talking about the technology part. We have to, as we continue to invest in AI, we have to start investing in detection of technologies that are going to be deep fake. So every single dollar that's getting actually spent on advancing the AI technology, we have to be spending a certain dollar, a certain number in order for the actual machines, the technology, the algorithms that's actually getting built behind it, in order to be able to identify all of that behind it. When I look at it, I actually love it and I enjoy it. And I see it from the lens of education. So for example, back in the day, I would go into the history class. Now I'm sitting with my classmates and we're learning about Abraham Lincoln. Well, today we can have Abraham Lincoln in the actual panel. We can have him actually sitting right next to us. We can ask him questions. We can discuss questions, and we can actually get answers exactly how we actually want it to be. Number two, anybody who's passed away that's very close to our heart, grandparents, grandparents that want to tell you about who you are as a person. Now you can actually have a conversation with that person and they can come alive and they can tell you their story, and on and on and on. So from a technological standpoint, I think it will define our future. But what we have to define ourselves is how are we going to be responsible to make sure that it's not going to affect us in a negative way.
That's a wonderful connotation which he has mentioned, like how we are connecting to the person who is close to our heart, and while remembering the things. Because I can say one of my example about my past experience, like when I lost my mother and my parents long ago, like these days I'm specifically think at one point of time, like how I can bring back them in by leveraging the deep fakes, and so that it will be making some sense to my heart to condole myself, as well as I can feel some happiness by listening to their words or their voice, right? So that is, everyone is looking for something by leveraging technology, so how we can get benefit out of it through some personal sense or a professional sense. So then let's move to understand how we can, how we are not using those things in a bad manner. So let's understand from Nirm, what is the ethical aspect and the societal impact of deepfakes?
So currently we have AI that is helping us building different things or creating different things. Those are not original, or those are not human made. So now when we create deepfakes, those are, as he has mentioned already, that deepfakes are like very high intensity or high definition fakes. Those are difficult to understand or differentiate from the original. So Now, the ethical concern comes when the deepfakes are populating media, populating our social lives, populating our political lives and other areas, and creating different impacts. So we need to be understanding that what impact that the deepfakes are making, and take ownership and responsibility of the deepfakes that we are creating, so that we do not create the deepfakes or create the AI generated objects that will in turn destroy our human original artifacts. So as we see that students use AI to generate their classworks and generate different artworks, or writing compositions. So these are the areas as well where we need to be cautious that how much we use the AI and how much we use the original and when we use the original. In different areas like ethics has come into role and play for different purpose for different era of time. Like when printer was invented, nobody was expecting that how can someone print or copy a original thing like like a fake copy looks like original. But we did not lose our currency because we had good governance and good ethics and good guardrails to protect the printed materials like original materials or currency printing. So similarly, we need to have good governance and good ethical guardrails so that we do not fall behind in AI or deepfakes should not be a problem in our real life.
That's a great point. Like we have to take a step, like how we can block few things so that we can use it something for the good. So before
I
blocking,
do have something small to add to that, right? Ethical actually always speaks to me, and what you said actually inspires the thought that I'm about to say. We have to have ethical guidelines, right? Especially in a subject like this one. There is a group called Partnership on AI. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. But Partnership on AI is pretty much the leading companies or corporations in AI combined with the government, combined with nonprofits, and people from the public, right? And so they came all together in order to establish an organization, in order to set what does it mean to be ethically okay, I guess, in the AI universe. And so those guidelines will probably start getting created by organizations like that we actually obviously trust. And then from there, we start actually implementing it ourselves within our own technology by saying, okay, if anything has been altered, let's go ahead and flag it immediately and say, hey, this has been altered. It's actually altered for something better, but hey, we're letting you know that it's been altered. And I think that's just the ethical thing that we need to be saying.
that's amazing you said, Osama. So I'm completely agree with that. Even everyone is agree with that. So maybe we can understand more from Chris. So as you said, like you and Nirm has mentioned, like how we can block something and how we can control those misuse. So what do you feel, Chris? Like how we can control those misuse?
Well, I would say it's probably three different levels: federal, corporate, and family. Federal basically making sure that corporate's in check, and then corporate basically using third-party, outsourcing companies that would be able to tell whether if it's fake or not, or if it's been manipulated, and then making sure that they're actually acting as a witness against the government, just in case the government gets too trigger happy with, pushing the deep fakes. The other aspect of it I would see is government can also create penalties on different tier levels depending on how bad or how it affected so many people in regards to, different levels and harm. And then basically at a family level, making sure you have things implemented to safeguard your family. For instance, I know, a woman was sitting in her kitchen. She gets a phone call from her daughter, who sounds like her daughter, saying, I need $100,000, Mom. I just got kidnapped. Not realizing the guy or whoever's on the other side of the phone doesn't realize that the mother knows her daughter's upstairs doing her homework. So just putting in specific, phrases like, hey, honey, is the barrel of fish in the backyard good? And just sort of creating codes in regards to, how that, word would be phrased, I think would probably be the best sort of benefit in that aspect when it comes to the family. So, those three implementations, I think, have a good checks and balances across the board as far as keeping everyone safe, and especially government.
That's a great point. So, Nir, are you agree with do we have to bring something from government side or federal side?
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that, that the governance should be coming from the government, and the governance part is very important, and this is the high time that government puts on the guardrails on AI and deepfakes so that those can be controlled and can be governed properly.
That's a great point, because government has to take a step like how we can control some of those misuse in the societal norms. So one example coming into my mind, so I would like to share with you, there are elections which is there in next few months. So let me share one of the thought, there is a fierce competition is happening between the two parties, and somebody who is super popular, who is winning the elections, at the same time, on the same day, result day, we have received something in our inbox or in a social media, something is viral. So, and that video is which is promoting about the winning candidate, and the winning candidate is talking something bad about the people and the country. But people have trusted him or her to win the election because he is the right person to drive this country. So at the same time, one video surfaced in the market. So how you all are feeling, how we can tackle this type of situation on the same day, and what is the impact on this in a societal norm of this situation? Maybe you can share something about technology point of view and ethical and.
I think it's a important question that you're asking, especially in today's. In November we're going to have elections coming up, right? Something extremely important for everybody. And when I think about that, it could go in either way. And I need a second to think through it, because that's an important question. Just give me a second. You guys go ahead.
Yeah. Nir can mention something.
So I would say in this kind of situation, this needs to be made a punishable offense to create such deepfakes to banter someone's image or someone's position or someone's philosophy. So if this is governed by making it a punishable offense or making it a crime, then I think this can be deterred. Or otherwise, these kind of situation, people needs to be made more aware that which is fake and which is not fake. Like recently, there was a robocall mimicking Biden's voice and asking people not to vote. So that was a real deepfake, and that has been investigated, and people who created that has been caught. So that kind of approach needs to be taken from the government to catch the people who are behind these kind of deepfakes and creating this kind of nonsense. So if they are criminally charged or they are punished, then the people will also know that these are kind of crime that is happening.
That's a great point. And Chris, so what do you feel like how we can control this type of misuse, not on the same day when the video published, but maybe prior to that, we can take some step to control from the technological point of view, or maybe kind of a ethical point of view?
I would say probably have some sort of fingerprint in regards to it. I think some sort of, QR code or licensing out to use this technology, so that way it's almost affiliated with the government. It's almost like a timestamp, so to speak. I think that would probably be a very beneficial way to approach it. I can't really think of any other terms, and
Maybe we can control some of the digital aspect. Like Osama, what do you think?
No, no, 100%. And yeah, thank you guys. That actually inspired me to go ahead and say the following. I think we're all very happy that we live in the United States of America, right? Because it is the land of the free. But at the same time, nobody's above the law. And so any single time that you're actually influencing people by giving them fake information, that has to go back to the law. And I think it has to go back to the government, and they have to take actually action in place in order to make sure that it doesn't widespread, and then eventually it changes the world that we actually live in and make it an actually fake world. But at the same time, we are also responsible not to use those legal approaches in order to demine the other party and make sure that they're not going to actually rise up to the place and become, whether it's the president, whether it's part of the government, or anything else that has to do with it.
That's a great point he has mentioned. That is how, like a deepfakes is such a high implication on our societal norm, as well as it's taking our freedom and the person whose deepfakes is creating. So it is taking a lot of toil on them. So let's quickly understand on how in something which is impacting we as a person, not as a societal norm, but it is dealing with the human life. Because previously I was working for a healthcare organization, and I'm super excited about the healthcare space. So suppose take an example like a company, like a healthcare company, suppose Pfizer. Pfizer is producing a drug, and that drug is, taking some kind of it is understanding some disease, some critical disease, and also it is trying to solve with 90% of accuracy through that drug. So now the technological innovation has done its part to develop the drug. Now, on the launch day, the drug has launched and it is in the market. So on the same day, one video has resurfaced in the market, like where the R&D laboratory is taking an interview with a medical supervision, and they are talking to each other like how this drug is going to kill the human being, not instantly but gradually. So which is a kind of a very strong implication to our personal life. So how you all are going to tackle this type of situation through ethically or from technological innovation point of view? Because here it is a concern of regulations, regulatory, ethics. At the same time, it is dealing with the human life, because there are many people are suffering from this disease. They are critically expecting something to come into market. They want to get it resolved, and they want to come out of that disease. So how you are feeling like this type of situation we can tackle? Yeah, Chris, maybe how we can stop this misuse?
How can we stop this misuse? I would say,
maybe Osama, you can think of something. Yeah. So like my question is, so something video came into the market which is dealing with the human life, because there are many people who are suffering from this disease. Like how, from the technological point of view, so what are the kind of regulations we can cover up to stop this type of things, especially when the human life is concerned?
I don't think we should stop it, right? I don't think we should slow it down either. I think that we do it in steady cases, right? If there's a technology, we should push for that technology. We shouldn't put any rail guards on it. And I think in this specific matter, when it comes to human life, I think we do it just the same way that it's always been done. You take a group of people, you test it on, you pass the actual testing, whether it's the FDA, whoever that's going to actually allow it to be. And then if it actually passes, you allow it, and then you save so many different lives.
That's a great point. And next is our key topic agenda was like how we can make a balance between the innovation and responsibility. So maybe you can say a little bit thought about how we can balance, playing a balanced role in between the innovation and responsibility while implementing some deepfakes. Like there are a lot of ethical consideration we have shared. Some of the maybe education or awareness campaign we can make, or we can bring some regulations. Yep. So maybe you can say some of that.
I mean, I'll go back to the same topic, right? Responsibility and innovation, they're just in construct, right? Completely the opposite. But we need to have some sort of responsibility for it. So I'll answer the same exact question that I guess answer that I answered before. We should absolutely let innovation run as free as possible, and then expect that there will be a certain percentage of error, and that percentage of error is going to be so minimum by making sure that it's going to be risky for the rest of the world, and it's going to create a lot of innovation after that.
Great. Neem, what you thought about like how we can playing a balanced role between the innovation and the responsibility?
Definitely. So innovation is actually like the childbirth of industry. So innovation brings new in the new businesses or new gadgets or new technologies into the industry, and it is always like he said, it is always like free and open, so that there is no boundary in innovation. But when there is the innovation effort going on, like deepfakes, creating deepfakes or creating AI generated objects, that can be very challenging, and at the same time that can be very difficult for the creator to understand that where it will create the harm or where it will create the benefits. Like deepfakes can be created to augment human knowledge, human technology, and human work. But if the deepfakes are created for harming someone, then it is not a good thing to do with the human responsibility. So when we see that there are deepfakes which are being created that can be harmful for human race, we need to have someone responsible, like who are the creators. There can be different, as he mentioned before, there can be different level of governance. The creator or the corporates, the organizations who are creating deepfakes, they need to have some responsibility and governance, and government should have some responsibility to control deepfakes from happening any crime or any kind of nonsense. So, and people themselves should have some responsibility to identify which is a deepfake or which is a not, and also use them accordingly. So in these three levels, I would say that deepfakes can be controlled and responsibility can be shared between different levels.
That actually struck an idea in my head. And then thank you for saying that. I think that the oxygen for innovation is collaboration. And I think the more that humans collaborate with one another and get the information out and actually break it down with the factual stand, that's how we're going to actually be able to combat it.
That's a great point. And since collaboration is coming into the picture, so Chris has earlier mentioned like we should have some policy and those things. So how, Chris, so we can bring the collaboration between the policymaker, the government or federal body at the same time from the technological innovator?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say there's probably going to have to be a lot of NDAs, that's for sure. Nonetheless, government's definitely going to have their foot in the door and just, have very sharp eyes, So I think the collaboration between all the companies and government keeping them in check, number one, obviously. And number two, the other thing too is doing the collaboration. They could also spawn out to specific ideas and be given sort of spin-offs, I guess, in regards to the technology that they could utilize in one aspect or another. So it's almost like a partnership, but at the same time, it's a compound that can basically be broken over and over again. But that's all depending on how the corporations like to play with each other, whether it's spike ball or softball. It's it's just one of those things. It's sometimes the companies that want to outshine the other companies are always going to want to pull the rug out from the other ones. So that's a sort of a hard cookie to crumble in my aspect. But government being the swinging baton, I think they'll be more keen to stay in line, especially if there's other, protocols that are put in position.
That's a great point. And I'm a little curious about, since you were a super expertise on the how a human body and mind can be balanced based on your expertise area. So what do you think, like, what is the implication of defects in the world of holistic?
Defects?
Yeah.
I would say is probably readings that are off, medicines that are basically given to them by the readings due to the fact of what they need. I would say, give me that question one more time.
Like you as a holistic coach, and you are purely always, like solving the problem of how humans' body and mind can be in a right direction so that they will be aligned. So what do you think, like defects implication on human life?
The defects with
Yep.
AI, utilizing AI?
Yeah.
I would say probably reading things incorrectly, like I was saying before, but not just on a obviously medicine aspect, but also physiology. Can't even speak. Physiology. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me today?
Physiology.
I didn't finish my coffee.
Got it.
So basically on a physical aspect, whether it's a reading of a tumor or some sort of fatty assist that's basically being recognized as something else or being misdiagnosed by AI, I think there's going to be they're probably going to have to have a huge database in regards to that before it's really sort of implemented into a major system that's basically being sort of utilized for providers and also insurance companies.
And to add a little bit more to that, I mean, AI can literally create a human, right, through a video, and say this human is extremely healthy, and all they've been doing is only eating meat. Whether that's correct or not, I have no idea. Probably even in any day-to-day conversation, nobody has an idea. And so again, I think we go back to the same point, whether it's healthcare, whether it's anything that you're actually watching, somebody has to put a note at the bottom and say, hey, this was actually created by AI. We recommend that you do your own research.
Right.
And that's when we go to the point that you mentioned up, which is collaboration, when you talk to people and say, hey, have you experienced this? Does actually eating meat only make you stronger, or is it actually creating all of these kind of problems?
And you as a Osama, so you are an innovator, tech innovator. So what do you feel like? Do we need to invest in this section, like how we can detect this type of deepfakes and how we can, make some robust algorithm which can find these people who are behind this deepfakes?
Absolutely. When it comes to any kind of innovation, right? So yesterday I was on a panel that talked about blockchain and cryptocurrency. Obviously, it's back hot. Everybody's actually watching it. At the same time, as we continue to, for example, invest in cryptocurrency, and as we continue to invest in blockchain, we have to also invest in sustainable energy, right? And this comes to the same kind of example. There's so much innovation that's changing the world when it comes to actual AI. So for every dollar that's actually getting spent on advancing AI and making our life a lot easier, there should be a certain dollar that's going to actually be done in order to make sure that it responsibly going to be transferred from one generation to the other.
So as you say, it's like, do we have to have a framework in place so that where it is a kind of a public and private or government partnership so that we can make a combination between the technology innovator and the ethical aspect as well as federal government?
100%. So let's think about ESG, right, in general. We have an actual mission to offset carbon, correct? So at the same time, as we innovate, we have to have a certain criteria, call it, or strategy, so that we can actually offset any kind of faulty information that's going to come from it.
That's a great point. So now we have understood various ethical complications of this deepfakes as well as how we can bring some regulation and how we can do a balancing between the innovation and responsibility. So let's quickly understand from audience perspective if they have any question on this.
Go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, what can you see as some maybe problematic areas where AI can be manipulated based on people that are inputting information. I think about like the medical field, for example, and what you were sharing. Maybe if someone has like certain bias or information that they're putting in when training the AI model, could that impact and give false information and answers or false perceptions when directing other people?
I would say for the most part, this is where it comes back to data. I think AI needs to scan a huge array of different people, different ethnicities, different sizes, whether it be, 1 foot tall to 6'8", I think that all has a huge effect because just being in my business, a lot of muscles might be attached to specific areas, but not necessarily is it for everyone, the same sort of structural integrity. So like I said, it's coming back to the data aspect and the specialization on whatever that AI is scanning. That's really going to put the cherry on the cake to make sure that it is 100% accurate. Because if you don't have that accuracy, then you have people's licenses on basically on the chopping block. And the last thing I think someone wants to do is, after being a doctor or a nurse or any sort of practitioner, have that basically taken away from you all just because they read AI incorrectly, So definitely needs to be safeguards, definitely needs to be a checklist, especially when first implementing. But as that database is sort of built up, I think you'll start to see a little bit more of the hands let go on the wheel,
What a great question, and I'll collaborate and continue on that. We learn from history, and we have so much data from what has historically happened. And I think we should utilize AI to help us process this data. Big data has been a massive issue for us to be able to actually process for the past 10 years. And now we have an actual innovation that can actually simplify it and make it a lot easier for us to understand how we can actually create it. So I think, again, as we build, call it the ethical, the legal aspects around AI, we should definitely utilize AI in order to understand what happened through data and what happened through history for the past hundreds of years.
That's a great question. And anyone else? Some more questions? Yep.
I think of like personal IP and brand image and all of that. It's probably one of the biggest things that's ultimately at stake here. I mean, a lot of deepfakes kind of piggybacks off some of the things Paul's sharing. So I'm curious, how do you successfully even go about regulating those types of things? Who ultimately, right, is going to be the one to step in and monitor that? It's right now, it's kind of the Wild West, I would call it, where anyone can use AI to spin up an image of someone saying anything and post it on the internet. So I'm curious how we're going to combat that moving forward.
That's a great point, to bring the regulations into the picture. Everywhere we need regulations for this type of topic when it comes, which is, people are misusing it for something bad intention or something, because regulations and the collaboration, as Osama has mentioned. So these are the two important things for me. Like maybe each of us can share some of the point which can be helpful for the audience. So what they can take from this conversation, it's Osama, you can start.
No, I love that question. And when I think about it, that's a very important thing. Like, how do we actually authenticate that this image is actually correct, right? Or how do we bring it back? And when I see innovation, I look for other places of innovation. And I think one of the most innovative things that came out from blockchain is the ability to actually tell that this NFT actually belongs to this person. So can we actually utilize that in AI and say, you know what, now we're going to actually create these barcodes or whatever actual, again, behind it in order to authenticate, okay, this actually belongs to this person. And now every single time you see a video of whether it's, running for president, or whether it's sending an ad, or whether it's influencing you to make a health decision, is this actually the person? And then you scan it, or you look at the actual QR, and you're like, okay, well, this is fake. This is not actually true, which is very similar to what obviously we see in blockchain. People are paying a lot of money in order to get specific type of NFTs, for example. These NFTs are going to be utilized in the future. So can we actually utilize the technology of somewhere else in order to support another technology?
As you have brought the NFT into the picture, so one example came into my mind. I was reading an article, so they were mentioning they were mimicking the hologram during the cryptocurrency. So of the person who is dealing with that, so that's how they are copying their signature, address, and their identification, and they are misusing that in a wrong sense, where a lot of money is getting involved, and it has a serious implication on the personal life as well as the business world, right? So that's the things we have to bring the regulations. Again, the regulation is coming into the picture. Neem or Chris can share some insight, like how we can make a right track towards bringing those regulations into the marketplace.
And as far as healthcare is concerned?
Yeah, so healthcare or kind of normal AI things or something which is not good for the societal benefit or human life.
I mean, I would probably say that insurance companies are probably going to have to sort of kick that in their lane. Only because they're the ones that are going to be sending out the reimbursements. They're going to want to make sure that everything is copacetic and, you know, how they're approaching, whether it be the doctor, the provider, or any other healthcare affiliate. I think that they're probably going to have to set up a separate department that's going to make sure that they're going to have their checks and balances in play. And so that way they could sort of gain a better idea, like, okay, is this AI program matching up to what they've been doing in the past, and sort of collaborating both of those two answers and utilizing the best formulation. I feel like that's how it's going to be utilized, because, you know, you could add a third party in there, but at that point, I mean, I just feel like there'd be a lot more hassle. But who am I? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that would be a plus, having a third party rather than just having it in-house in an insurance company.
I think that's a great question that we can ask AI to give us answers for.
Like a ChatGPT?
For example.
Yeah.
Or even better, yeah. There's a lot of companies, obviously, that are doing great things.
Great.
Yeah, so I think government agencies and government governance is also very much required in every aspects, like understanding where the implications of deepfakes, or be it healthcare or be it any other industry. Government should be having some kind of guideline and guardrails and some kind of law that will guide the deepfakes to be created or to be punished.
I want to leave everybody with something, and then I'll pass it back to you. Deepfake is not something new, right? We understand media. I mean, literally, you can take the clips that we actually did, and you can send people in different directions based on the conversation that we actually had, right? And so, again, what is it that you're actually putting out there, and are you actually going back to the source? I think that's what it comes to it. But at the heart of everything, continue to innovate. Don't let anything stop you, because with innovation comes prosperousness.
That's a great. So maybe everyone can share 1 or 2 points which can be helpful for the audience to on this subject, like how we can play a balanced role between the innovation and responsibility. At the same time, how we can bring some regulations or ethical point of view, or maybe bringing a collaboration opportunity amongst the private, public, as well as government parties, so to make the things in a right direction. So each one can share 1 or 2 points which can be super helpful for audience to take.
I'll keep going back to it. Continue to innovate. Don't let anything stop you. And once in a while, go ahead out there and collaborate and figure out, is this actually fact check it? Simple as that.
Good. Since you are an innovator, so you are always lacking. Okay, full-fledged leverage it for everything without anything. Like how we can do something which audience can take from here, Nirm, like one or two things.
Yeah, so the important thing is to support innovation as long as the innovation is creating good for human race, and balance it with some social and corporate responsibility, that the innovation or whatever deepfake or AI is not becoming a burden of crime in the society. And second thing is government agencies and governance should be revamped at this point, because every technology should come with some pros and cons, and the governance should be in place to support the pros and restrict the cons. So that is another point we need to be aware and be cautious of. And third, I would say that we all, in our own life, as new technology, as deepfakes and AI is coming up, we need to be more aware and more collaborative to understand where it's coming from and why we are using it and what is what. So I think that's those are the three takeaways I would say from my perspective.
Great. Chris?
I think we should really focus on just helping, using AI as a way to first focus on how to benefit humanity, then focus on a neutral aspect, and then focus on the negative aspects, and have different sort of checks and balances for each one of those. Obviously, if you're focusing on more of a benefit for humanity, you're going to have a lot more, at your beck and call. Neutral, there's going to be a little bit more of regulation, and then, the negative aspects of AI, whether it be through defense or, way to keep the negative aspects of AI affecting society. I think that's more along the lines that's going to be the most regulated, and how they should separate those three, I think, will be depending upon the collaboration between the corporations and how much work they do together. But once again, checks and balances between corporate, government, and third parties, I think, are really going to be the main way to tackle the negative outcomes that might be associated with AI.
That's great. Personally, for me, there are three things which I have learned from this conversation. One is how we can do the full-fledged innovation without nothing is stopping us. The second important thing is we can bring the regulations and ethical point of view. Third thing is the collaboration between all the parties. So that's how we can make something good. I hope everyone has learned something from this. So it will be super useful. So thank you so much for the audience and the great panelists. So I appreciate your time and bringing all the insight to this topic.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Give it up one more time for our panelists. That was great.